It was raining harder than anyone expected that afternoon. People rushed under roofs, closing their umbrellas as thunder rolled. But at the far end of the garden, a woman stood completely soaked, trembling as she held her arms tightly around herself. When the gardener approached, she whispered almost in fear, "Please, don't look at me." But he had already seen her struggle long before the rain began. The story begins in a quiet, upscale neighborhood on the outskirts of the city, the kind of place where every tree seemed perfectly shaped, every flower bed carefully arranged, and every lawn looked like soft green velvet. The man working there was Kamal, a humble gardener in his late 40s. He wasn't highly educated, but he had a quiet wisdom in his eyes, the kind that comes from years of watching life happen slowly, one season at a time. Every morning, before the world truly woke up, he arrived at the large mansion owned by the Malik family. He watered the flowers, trimmed the hedges, and cared for every growing thing with a patience that people rarely give to each other anymore. But that day, everything felt different, because the lady of the house, Amna Malik, arrived early, far earlier than she usually did. Amna was known for her elegance, perfect hair, perfect clothes, perfect posture, a woman who always seemed to have life under control. But when her car stopped in front of the gate that day, she stepped out distracted, overwhelmed, almost shaking. She had no umbrella. She wasn't dressed for the weather. She seemed lost in her own thoughts. Kamal noticed immediately, but he didn't say a word. He simply nodded, as he always did, and continued watering the plants. But as the rain slowly turned fierce, he saw something he had never seen in her before. Fear. The rain soaked her in minutes. Her clothes clung to her hair plastered to her face, her hands trembling as she tried to wipe the water from her eyes. She looked around, as if searching for a place to hide, not from the weather, but from something inside her. Kamal walked toward her, holding his spare raincoat. "Madam, you'll fall sick. Please take this." She stepped back instantly. "No, please don't look at me," she said, her voice cracking. He froze. He wasn't sure what hurt him more, her words, or the pain he heard inside them. She turned away, covering herself with her arms, as if trying to protect a dignity she felt was slipping away. "I'm fine," she whispered, but she clearly wasn't. Kamal gently placed the raincoat beside her without saying anything. Then in a soft voice, he said, "Sometimes when someone says, 'Don't look at me,' they're really saying, 'Please, don't see the reason I'm breaking.'" She didn't answer, but she also didn't walk away. After a long silence, she spoke, barely above the sound of the rain. "I wasn't supposed to come home this early. I only did because I couldn't stay there anymore." Kamal didn't ask where there was. People open up only when they feel safe. So he simply said, "I'm here if you need something, even if it's just someone standing nearby." She exhaled shakily, as if letting out a breath she had been holding for hours. Finally, she said, "I had a meeting today, a very important one, and I failed, completely." Kamal nodded slowly. "Even the strongest branches bend during storms," he said. "It doesn't make them weak, it just means the storm was big." She blinked hard, wiping her eyes, and that's when her voice broke completely. "I worked for months, gave everything, and today, they dismissed me, embarrassed me, treated me like I was nothing." Her body shook, not from the cold, but from the weight of humiliation she had been carrying. My confidence, my reputation, everything just washed away. Kamal looked at her gently. "That's why you didn't want me to look at you," he said softly. "Not because of the rain, but because falling hurts more when someone else can see it." She didn't deny it, because it was true. At that moment, lightning flashed, followed by another deep rumble of thunder. Amna jumped slightly, startled. Without thinking, Kamal reached out and held the umbrella overhead, shielding both of them. He expected her to pull away again, but this time she didn't. She let herself be sheltered. A moment passed, quiet, heavy, yet strangely comforting. Then she whispered, "I've spent my whole life pretending to be strong. Today, I don't think I have any strength left." Kamal replied softly, "Strength isn't shown when you keep standing tall. Real strength shows when you admit you're hurting and still choose to face tomorrow." Her eyes filled with tears. For the first time, she looked at him, not as an employer, not as someone of higher status, but as a human being who desperately needed kindness. "How do you do it?" she asked. "How do you stay calm through everything?" He smiled gently. "Because I've learned that life is like a garden," he said. "Some days everything blooms. Some days the storms come. But nothing stays forever. Not even the pain." She closed her eyes, letting the words settle inside her. A small miracle happened in that moment. Not the kind seen with fireworks or loud music, but the quiet kind that happens in the heart when someone finally feels understood. The rain softened. The wind calmed. It was as if the world itself had paused to give her space to breathe again. Kamal placed the raincoat around her shoulders. This time she didn't resist. "Thank you," she whispered. He nodded. "You don't have to hide your struggle," he said. "What you're going through doesn't make you weak. It just makes you human." They slowly walked toward the porch together. Amna sat on the wooden bench, still shivering but calmer now. Kamal brought her a cup of warm tea from the small staff kitchen. "You didn't have to," she began. "I know," he replied. "But sometimes people don't need solutions. They just need warmth, even if it's in a cup." She held the tea with both hands, letting its heat bring her back to herself. For a while they said nothing. The rain fell softly around them, tapping gently against the leaves. Then Amna spoke again, her voice steadier. "I thought losing that one opportunity meant losing everything. But maybe it's just a redirection." Kamal smiled. "Exactly. Sometimes life closes a door because your heart deserves a better one." A faint smile appeared on her face for the first time that day. "Do you really believe that?" she asked. "Every day," he replied. "I've seen dead plants bloom again. I've seen storms destroy gardens only for new seeds to grow stronger. Kindness, hope, they always come back." She looked out at the garden, quiet, fresh, washed clean by the rain. Maybe, she thought, her life could be washed clean too. As she stood up to leave, she looked at him with genuine gratitude. "Kamal, thank you for seeing what I tried so hard to hide." He nodded respectfully. "Sometimes," he said, "the people who hide their pain the most are the ones who deserve compassion the most." She placed her hand over her heart. "You were the only person who didn't look at me with judgment, but with understanding." Kamal looked at the sky and said softly, almost like a prayer, "No one should walk through a storm alone." And so, what began as a moment of embarrassment became the start of healing. A woman rediscovered her strength, and a simple gardener reminded her of the quiet power of kindness. Because sometimes, the people we least expect become the ones who lift us when we fall. Sometimes the smallest act of kindness can change someone's world.